Jamaica's public procurement system is undergoing major transformation, and in today's magazine, we'll share with you just how. Welcome to the program. I'm Theodore Henry. Also in the package, the election countdown continues. We share some insightful information on the electoral process. Plus, how are you maintaining a healthy heart? People out the road, tell us. Stay with us as we get things rolling with this important message.
All the people them with a Zig V, hold up your hand. Zig V in the Caribbean territory, but we now want that virus take set pan we. So make sure send no stagnant water inside and mash up all mosquito breed inside. More hole in the tin them where you dash way and change the water in your vase every day. No litter, dispose of your garbage proper. You know them the thing that we turn drain blacker. Tour your community and tour your yard for suppress mosquito. We have figure hard dash we all tire turn over drum pan for prevention is the greatest weapon. And special shout out to pregnant ladies. Protect yourselves and protect your babies. Draw for your zapper and your mosquito spray. If you do all that we can to keep them away. For we know what's in vain.
Good day, I'm Andrea Chisholm and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, February 16. The Isaac Barrett Center of Excellence in Golden Grove, St. Thomas is in the final phase of development to offer improved healthcare services to patients. Health Minister Horace Daly signed a $63 million contract last Thursday to carry out additional improvement works for 6 months. The contractors are C&D Construction and Engineering Company Limited and Metal Plus Engineering and Construction Limited. Chairman of the Southeast Regional Health Authority, Dr. Andre Cook, says the second phase of the project will include major construction as well as drainage and electrical works.
We will have an upgrade to the maternal and child health department, the recommissioning of an operating theatre, and the provision of a mobile X-ray unit. The upgrade of this health facility is part of our effort to ensure that the communities have well-equipped healthcare centers to detect and provide early treatment before health conditions worsen.
The development of the Isaac Barrett Center of Excellence is being financed by the National Health Fund. Phase 1 was completed in 2014 at a cost of $32 million. It involved, among other things, the expansion of the waiting area, installation of dental equipment, and construction of a laboratory. The Development Bank of Jamaica (DBJ) has signed a second technical cooperation agreement with the Inter-American Development Bank (IDB) to further develop Jamaica's venture capital industry. The project, which cost about $420 million, is funded by both entities. DBJ will provide the bulk of the money, $275 million. The objectives of the project include building the capacity of entrepreneurs and finalizing the legal and regulatory framework for cross-border venture capital transactions.
This second technical cooperation agreement builds on the first and is expected to impact over 100 existing and potential urban and rural high-growth potential SMEs. Other beneficiaries will include regulators, service providers, investors, and importantly, existing and new fund managers.
In the meantime, the DBJ will host its third Venture Capital Conference from March 7 to 9 at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. The theme for this year is The Power of Smart Capital, Expanding the Financial Landscape, Fueling Innovation, Driving Entrepreneurship. The Jamaica Fire Brigade JFB has expanded its emergency medical services to offer first responder services at fire stations across the island.
Persons will be able to walk into the station at any time and access such services as blood pressure checks, blood sugar checks, basic burn, basic wound care, general first aid, general advice on minor trauma incidents.
The Brigade's board chairman says it's part of the JFB's drive to increase services to the public while building relationships. In addition to the new services, the JFB's emergency medical technicians respond to road traffic accidents, life-threatening trauma, and other emergencies. Mr. Dabdoob was speaking recently at a ceremony to commission 3 new fire trucks into service. Government is still working on a rural development policy to expand social and economic opportunities in rural communities. Chairman of the Rural Development Task Force, Luther Buchanan, says meetings have been held with key stakeholders to gather information which will guide the policy. Suggestions have been sent to state agencies for feedback.
It is expected that consultations with the parish councils and the community groups will be held in a few months, after which the final draft will be presented to Cabinet in September of this year.
The Justice Ministry has congratulated Jamaica's Chief Justice Zayla McCalla on being conferred a prestigious honor in London, England. A release from the ministry indicates that Mrs. McCalla was appointed an honorary bencher of the Middle Temple Inn for her contribution to the law in Jamaica. Middle Temple is one of 4 inns of court which have the exclusive right over admission to the bar in England and Wales. The Justice Ministry also congratulated Judge of the International Court of Justice and former Deputy Attorney General of Jamaica, Patrick Robinson, on being appointed a bencher of the Middle Temple. Distinguished members of the Middle Temple include former Attorney General of the United States Eric Holder, former Chief Justice of Jamaica Sir Edward Zacher, and Prime Minister of the United Kingdom David Cameron. And finally, Entertainment Minister Dr. Wickham McNeil has congratulated Morgan Heritage for winning the 2016 Grammy Award for Best Reggae Album. The Jamaican group was honored for their album Strictly Roots at the 58th Annual Grammy Awards in the United States on Monday. Minister McNeil says Morgan Heritage has made Jamaica proud through the extraordinary music they have produced over the years. He adds that the prestigious award is not only a win for the group, but also a win for all Jamaicans. And that's it for GIS News today. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Thank you for watching.
Wet hands with water. Apply enough soap to cover all hand surfaces. Rub hands palm to palm. Right palm over left dorsum with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Backs of fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. Rotational rubbing of left thumb clasped in right palm and vice versa. Rotational rubbing backwards and forwards with clasped fingers of right hand in left palm and vice versa. Rinse hands with water. Dry hands thoroughly with a single-use towel. Use towel to turn off faucet. Your hands are now safe.
We want a productive Jamaica. We are not productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity, free a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity.
Productivity, Pathway to Prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Greater transparency and equity in how contracts for government projects are awarded is just part of the goal for the public procurement system. In recent times, the process has undergone major modernization. Let's find out how.
Jamaica's business sector is becoming much more competitive, largely in part to the transformation taking place in the public procurement process. Now, the sourcing and provision of goods and services is being made easy through the enactment of the Public Procurement Act, PPA. The Act is Jamaica's first standalone legal instrument which will guide and regulate how government spends taxpayers' dollars on the procurement of goods, services, and works, allowing all parties involved to see increased value for money. With the enactment of the PPA, several strategies will be employed to provide support to persons who participate in the public procurement process, creating a clear connection from advertising to contracting. The Office of Public Procurement Policy will perform the role of making recommendations to the government with respect to the policies to be adopted for public procurement, and being the national contact point, provide support to persons who participate in the public procurement process and other stakeholders such as international development partners. The Public Procurement Commission will promote efficiency in public procurement proceedings, the implementation of procurement contracts, and the transparency and equity in the award of such contracts. Under the Act, participants will see the development of a code of conduct for public officers and best public practice guidelines for public procurement. There will also be continued training for public officials and the implementation of an online version of the procurement process known as e-procurement. For more information on Jamaica's public procurement reform, contact the Ministry of Finance and Planning at 922-8600. You may also visit their website at www.mof.gov.jm.
The media landscape is awash with commercials offering a variety of loans, but consumers be cautious about these seemingly attractive deals. Loan companies sometimes practice over-lending to consumers and impose excessive fees and onerous contract terms. If you are seeking a loan, try to approach reputable organizations like banks and credit unions. Consider these points before you borrow: the purpose of the loan, the terms and conditions including the type of interest and the associated processing fees, the period for repayment, and other non-interest related charges. If you think a loan offer is misleading or false, contact the Consumer Affairs Commission. Call 906-5425, 906-8568, or 906-0813. They're located at 34 Trafalgar Road, Kingston 10.
Every Jamaican of legal age got the right to vote in 1944 as the country achieved universal adult suffrage. Why vote? It's your right. It makes a difference. It counts. Exercise your franchise. Let your voice be heard.
As we mentioned at the top of the show, the election countdown is on. Let's join Andrea Chisholm to find out how the electoral system works.
On nomination day, the process is simple. All candidates contesting the general election have to formally indicate their decision to do so.
There are certain rules relating to the nomination day as to when you can start and when it must end. Those processes are to allow not just the main political parties but independent persons to be able to come forward and make themselves available. And they have rights similar to the main political parties for the nomination of candidates.
Candidates, whether independent or supporters of established political parties, should fill out the nomination form. That form has to be signed by any 10 registered voters in the constituency. It should then be submitted to the returning officer at the nomination center between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. on nomination day. A fee is also required. Then, on election day, winners are identified based on the first-past-the-post system under the Westminster system of governance. The candidate with the most electoral votes in a particular constituency will be named the Member of Parliament for that area and occupy a seat in the House of Representatives. There are 63 seats, representing 63 constituencies, in the House of Representatives or the lower house. A political party is declared the victor if its candidates secure the most seats. The party or parties with the remaining seats will form the opposition.
The Governor General, in his discretion, and those are the words in the Constitution, determines who commands a majority of the members of the lower house.
That individual would then become the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is later sworn in, and among the first order of business is to name a cabinet, that is, ministers with different portfolios in government. Some of these ministers will come from the pool of individuals who won their seats on election day, traditionally from the ruling party. Not less than 2 and no more than 4 of the ministers may sit in the Senate, also called the upper house of Parliament. Unlike the House of Representatives, members of the Senate are not voted in or elected representatives. 13 of the 21 members are appointed by the Governor-General on the advice of the Prime Minister, and the remaining 8 by the Leader of the Opposition. That, in essence, is how the electoral process and governance system works in Jamaica. But it doesn't work without your participation. You have the right to vote. And if your name is on the voters list on February 25, go and vote for the candidate of your choice.
Did you know regular physical activity controls your weight, reduces your risk of cardiovascular diseases, reduces your risk for type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome, reduces your risk of some cancers, strengthens your bones and muscles, and increases your chance of living longer? Get active, get fit, stay healthy.
This Heart Month, the spotlight is on obesity. Do you know that just by shedding the extra pounds, you're on the path to a healthier heart? What are some of the things that you're doing to make that happen?
Exercise and healthy living, that's the simplest and easiest way to do it.
I like to exercise. I walk like most evenings, and I try to eat as healthy as possible. Stay away from oil and fat and pork. Walk, eat right.
Like most people, I try to exercise and eat right and, maintain a balanced diet, stay active, that kind of thing.
I like to walk and run.
I do the things they say you're supposed to do, like don't smoke and exercise and, keep yourself a good and thing.
I'm an early riser. I love early mornings. I love fresh breeze. I go for a walk every morning. I walk for between 45 minutes and an hour. I try to do some yoga. I'm a vegetarian. I eat lots of fruits. But I try to exercise and I try to eat well, and I make sure I get enough rest.
Some good responses there. Let's hear some more tips from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica.
We know that obesity, a high body mass index, a high body fat is associated with more than 50 different diseases. Heart disease being our nation's #1 killer. We need to challenge ourselves. We just eat too much. We eat too much sugar, we eat too much salt, and we eat too much fat. We're consuming too much of these nutrients in excess, especially sugar and especially salt. I think there's more awareness now with fat, and we know to eat the healthier fats in smaller amounts. But we need to focus on the other nutrients. We need to focus on daily eating and what to put into the diet. The most important foods to put into the diet is fruits and vegetables. Do not choose fry. We consume too much fat if it's in fried food. Try and eat less processed food on the plate. So choose food like the ground provisions. Choose something that's baked, broiled, oven roasted, not deep fried. We have to start thinking of food as medicine. Daily, I said, we need to eat vegetables and daily fruit.
Well, I dare to make a difference, and I dare to take a stand. Let me dare to think of someone else who's in need of a helping hand.
The Office of the Children's Advocate is very aware that we have some parents who get particularly anxious at the start of a new school year. And so we really just wanted to share with you a few tips that you can utilize to help keep your children, especially the very young ones who are going out for the first time, nice and safe from sexual abuse. Parents need to recognize that the private parts, as we call them, or the genitalia, are regular parts of the body. And so in teaching your children about the forehead and the nose and the hand, you can also teach them the names of these body parts, because that does two things. It puts them in a position to speak about these parts when something is going wrong, and it also tells them that even though they're private parts, it's not too private to talk about, particularly with a parent. Children need to know that there should be no secrets between them and their parents or guardians. Oftentimes, when persons want to abuse children, they tend to encourage them to keep a little secret. You know, this is between me and you. But from very early, parents need to establish with their children that the lines of communication are open. Mommy and daddy, or auntie and uncle, or whoever is the responsible adult in that child's life, can actually have a discussion, age appropriate of course, about anything at all that may be troubling the child. The third tip is that parents need to cultivate throughout the child's lifespan that environment whereby the child feels comfortable to speak. Conversation should not be off limit, topics should not be taboo, and you really need to get to a stage whereby you have teachable moments, we call them. So we see a lot of things reported in the newspapers, sometimes on the nightly news, and we can use some of these instances of horrible things that are happening to other children to start little discussions with our own children to give them tips as to how they can avoid or prevent, perhaps completely, any such reality happening to them. For these tips, and of course any other information that deals with children, that is anyone under 18 years, please feel free to contact the Office of the Children's Advocate. We're at 72 Harbour Street, downtown Kingston, and our numbers are 948-1134, or website www.oca.gov.jm.
Well, I dare to make a difference, and I dare to take a stand. Let me dare to think of someone else who's in need of a helping hand.
This is Romain Virgo. I'm here appeal to all of the youths them to just stay away from crime and violence. We know the temptation, the money, the fast life. People say them rate you, but that will only take you nowhere. If you stay in school and focus, then you can achieve anything. Be your own leader. A gang is a dead end.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
If reggae can ever be edged to a set place, then 13 Brentford Road is its home. It was here at Studio One in 1968 that Rocksteady briefly went back 20 years, married the folk rhythms of Mento, and gave birth to reggae.
Up to 8, 6, then reggae.
The guitar led the reggae music orchestra, and the bass maintained the melodic patterns in the background. It is interesting to note that even though the fusion would change the course of local music history forever, it was to be one of its most celebrated strokes of luck.
No, I didn't really want to give out this piece of information, but since we're at it, I won't be mean.
Clement Dad brought a piece of machinery to the studio for about a year. It was sitting there. And no one knew exactly what to do with it. And so they hooked it up one day and decided to implement it. And they discovered it was a tape delay. And so they hooked it into the machine and they started doing it into the recording. So when they put the guitar sounds through the tape delay, it comes back saying, chick, 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 chick. The rest of studios hearing this recording out, they thought it was the guitar making that and just copied that, and that was the birth of reggae music.
Jackie Mitu invited Larry Marshall to try out on the new sound. The experiment yielded Nanny Goat and Baby Tell Me Why. But it was Toots and the Maytals, Do the Reggae, that christened the music form forever. Reggae would deliver dance crowds from the sluggish rocksteady beat. The people needed a change in pace. Reggae upped the tempo. Reggae turned up the heat on some of the social and economic challenges that the people were facing. It premiered as the voice of the people. Reggae was a potent messenger for the Rastafari philosophy, which single-handedly cemented the music form as a cornerstone of Jamaican culture. Bob Marley was one of them who took to the music and the teachings. Marley had been around from the ska era. In 1961, he and a couple of his brethren, Peter Tosh and Bunny Livingston, formed the Rude Boys, which later became known as the Wailers. The teachings were often put to music in either Sir Coxson's Studio One or Duke Reid's Treasure Isle recording studios. The recording sessions overflowed with free-spiritedness and an abundance of talent. Hits were made by ear.
Studio One happens to be the station.
Studio One is widely regarded as the mecca of reggae music.
Studio One is called the University of Reggae Music. And as an artist, if you didn't work your way through that university, you would not be a complete artist.
This is the Motown of the Caribbean. Everything started right here, so right now you have to give a lot of respect to Mr. Dodd because he had a very good ear for music.
The local music industry learned the rudiments of music distribution as early as the 1940s, when English fans showed a willingness to buy its R&B covers. When American rhythm and blues were hard to come by, sound system owners Duke Reid and Sir Coxsone Dodd got artists like Stanley Motto to make their own. With the advent of a global village through the economic, social, and political phenomenon called globalization, it is now beyond one's mental facets, where this world-shaking cultural mystique known to humanity as simply reggae will take Jamaica, land we love. Whithersoever it goes, we go.
And that's how we close the pages on today's magazine. We appreciate you tuning in, and we also invite your feedback. Just drop us a line at jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. Stay in the know through our website, jis.gov.jm, which keeps you up to date on all government happenings. Plus, download our JIS News app from the Google Play Store. I'm Theodore Henry. On behalf of the hardworking team here at the JIS, thank you for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.